This year's Fraser Institute results show students in Toronto public high schools are falling behind the GTA average of 6.2 and provincial average of 6.0 with a rating of 5.3 out of 10, slumping to second last place of 12 school boards. This has been an ongoing trend for the past 5 years. Even though the Toronto District School Board might have scored near the bottom of this year's Fraser Institute report card, there have been some schools in the board that have made some significant gains over the past 5 years. Take Monarch Park, for example. In 2007, they scored a 1.1 out of 10 on the report card, and for 5 years, they have been significantly increasing. This year, they scored 6.7. And some teachers gave us a tour and told us what are some of the things that they're doing in the school to help improve their grade.
What we try to do is incorporate as much as we can in terms of technology, graphing calculators, but we really bring into the class real-life data to make the math much more interesting. We incorporate the smart board. So what I try to do with my students is for all my classes, I've got all my lessons I created a blog. So all my lessons, all my examples, all my theories on a blog site that I've prepared. And students have a chance to print out that lesson, come to class prepared, they can focus more and write less. So for especially my junior level students, grade 9s and 10s, it really helps them out, like the focus especially.
Right. And tell us about this exercise bike. How does it help
you? My grade 9s use it mostly. It's just some students come in class with a lot of energy, and it's hard to focus sometimes. So sometimes really just on a bike for 5-10 minutes, burns off the energy, really allows for more focus.
Another Toronto school, Eastern Commerce, was at the other end of the scale. It received a score of 0.7 out of 10. But the principal of the East End school explains the challenges they're facing.
Because I would agree with you, when parents just take a look at the score on the paper, it gives a certain impression. And I would say that the impression that I have, having been here since September of this academic year, is completely not reflected in a score that would represent the bottom 10 schools. Because I think it's important to understand the context before we take a look at the data. So we have approximately 350 students, a small school.
The students come from all over the GTA, not just from the neighborhood. Also, because it's a semestered school, students write the standardized EQAO tests in January, whereas other schools write in June and have more time to prepare. Peel, Halton, and York Public and Catholic Secondary School Boards average 6.2 to 7.7, equal or higher than the 6.2 GTA average. In Mississauga, John Fraser Secondary School received top marks from Fraser with an 8.2 rating out of 10.
I think special programs are things that help students feel belonging and connected, and if it's with a peer coach or through special education or with contact program, whatever it is, that we can help a kid feel that they belong, that this is their place, that's how a student learns. That's what we try and do here at John Fraser Secondary School.
In York Region, Richmond Hill ranked 6th among the top 10 schools for that area. It received an 8.9 out of 10 this year. In the past 5 years, they've averaged an 8.5.
Literacy is very important at Richmond High School, but we're not concerned about the ranking. What we're concerned about is our students being successful, because it's one part of their graduation requirements. And for me, it's very important that our students are able to communicate. And literacy, as you know, is a form of communication, and we want to make sure that our students are equipped well in order to do all the courses that they have to do in order to graduate, but more importantly, to equip them for life, whether they go on to university, college, or the world of work.
We find that if kids aren't feeling happy, safe, and comfortable at school, then they're not going to be engaged in class, and then their achievement will suffer. So like Principal Gazzacco said a few minutes ago, we feel it's really important to look at the whole student and their entire experience at school, which, when that's a positive experience, leads to increased student achievement.
That's actually my first year in the school, and I actually reached a lot, and my goals and my subjects, and I get good marks, which is, I actually love learning here, and in my previous school my marks weren't that good, and now I'm actually trying, and the teachers are actually amazing.
Toronto's Catholic Board reported lower than the GTA average with a 6.1, as did both Durham Catholic and public boards. Even though the Durham District School Board scored under the GTA average and the provincial average on this year's Fraser Institute report card with a score of 5.3 out of 10, some of its schools are still making some major gains. Take Port Perry High School, for instance. Over the past 5 years, its average score was 7.0, where this year they've made a 7.6 on the report card.
What I see in terms of school improvement at Port Perry High School is that there are multiple ways for students to experience success. There are multiple ways I think that students now would define success here. What has been amazing in the last couple of years is the way that student leaders intentionally include all students. So when they're planning activities, those typical student council activities, they're looking at ways to include students who would normally rather be outside having a smoke. How can we get those students involved? Mm-hmm. Students who have special needs, who may have typically been excluded from participation. How can we plan and accommodate so that those students can come out to the activity and have fun with it and be successful?
Port Perry is also home to unique programs including auto mechanics, culinary studies, and green industries. It's a school that is lucky to have a greenhouse attached to it. For the Toronto Sun, I'm Jenny Ewan.